Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires. Swing and a drive. Deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by a man that I will almost assuredly disagree with over the next few minutes. That is Matt Moreno. Matt, today we are talking rule changes as part of the labor negotiations that are ongoing. There has been some talk about MLB's power and ability to change rules on a whim. Basically, right now, Major League Baseball can make any changes to gameplay that they want as long as they give the union 1 year of advance notice. There were earlier discussions about that number coming down to 6 months. That number is now down to 45 days. They've talked about 3 specific rule changes. And I won't say they agreed on these 3 because the Players Association is using them as a bargaining chip. But in the latest proposal, the Players Association said, we're willing to allow this for pitch clock, banning the shift, and increasing base sizes. Now, here's the 3 rules explained. And then, Matt, we can discuss what we think about them. The first we'll talk about is the bases. Right now, Major League Baseball is proposing that they would increase the size of first, second, and third base by 3 inches. You might be thinking, who the heck cares about the size of the bases, and why in the world would you do this? The answer is twofold. One, they believe that will decrease collisions and injuries that happen on bases. And second, there's a possibility it increases the success rate of stolen bases, which in theory would make the game more exciting, etc. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is banning of the shift. At the AA level, what this looked like was that all 4 infielders had to be on the dirt. So there was no rule about how many guys on either side, but they couldn't be touching the grass. The second idea, which we don't know exactly what form this is going to take, would be having 2 guys on one side of second base, 2 guys on the other. The third rule change is the pitch clock. Right now, I believe it's a 30-second pitch clock. They want to bring that down to 14 seconds if there are nobody on base, 19 seconds if there is somebody on base. They tested this out at the minor league level. It shaved 21 minutes off of the average game time. Now, Matt, I'll turn to you and say, is there one of those you like the best? Is there one of you like the worst? Where do you want to start on these?
I mean, I guess we could start, if you want to say it's what I like the best, it would be the larger bases, just because I think it'll have like the least detrimental impact on kind of the fabric of the game.
Okay.
Great. Obviously if they have, obviously they've been testing it. And so if they found that injuries have declined, then great. You don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical of, how big of a difference they make, but hey, go ahead and go for it. The pitch clock and the shift, honestly, I'm not sure which one I dislike more. It's kind of a tie. With the shift, I think if they're going to implement something like that, my preference would be that they just say everybody has to be on the dirt and not that you need to have 2 and 2 on each side of second base, just because, look, if people don't know how to hit the ball the other way, these are major leaguers, kind of figure out how to do it, learn how to do it, get better at doing something like that. I don't think we need to go and completely change how defenses can be aligned. What's next? Are they going to tell outfielders that you guys have to play straight up now just because a guy is a pull hitter?
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the shift. It's funny because it's interesting to hear you make the fabric of the game argument and say, hey, I don't want to upset it. And yet most people would say, there are people arguing against the shift because they think it's upsetting the fabric of the game. I think you and I probably are aligned in that what we mean by the fabric of the game is the simplicity of it, the lack of rules, where it's like, hey, this is within the rules. You've got 9 guys out there. However you want to position them, you should be able to position them. Now, have things gone a little bit too far to the point that teams are so incredibly good at this that maybe it's hurting the game? Sure. So I think I'm with you. I would prefer that they've got to be on the dirt. I think the guy standing halfway between second base and right field is kind of a ridiculous look anyways when guys are getting thrown out from the outfield. But I agree with you on a bigger picture, which is we should not be just trying to make the game easier for one side or the other. Learn how to bunt into the shift and take free singles. Learn how to hit the other way, whatever it is. Obviously, hitting the other way is incredibly difficult. Pitchers can pitch you to make it so that it's really hard to go the other way. So learn to bunt. If you could successfully execute just a bunt to third base, I don't know, at a 50% rate, that would be a 500 on-base percentage. 50% almost seems low to me. It seems like you should be able to do that 2 out of 3 times. I don't know. Obviously, guys are worried. You only get 4 at-bats. You go up there, you do 1, you mess up. You get in your head about it, right? It looks stupid, etc., etc. But I think there are ways around it. So I think I'm with you on the shift. I'm with you on bases. Sure, go for it. I don't care. This is not going to change. They could do it. We wouldn't even notice, okay? The last one I think is where you and I are going to be have the most disagreement. I'm fine with the pitch clock. Now, are these the right numbers? I think they tested 15 and 17 seconds at the minor league level and realized they needed less time with guys, or more time with guys on base, less time with nobody on. To me, a 3 hour and 20 minute or 3 hour and 15 minute, whatever we're at for average game time, it's too long. It's too long. I don't hate baseball. Okay, Twitter tells me that I hate baseball because I want games under 3 hours. Guess what? They used to be under 3 hours. Like, guys didn't used to take a minute and a half in between pitches. So to me, this is actually returning to the fabric of the game. This is returning to the pace of play that we should have been getting the entire time. I don't see this. Now, are there going to be some kinks they need to work out because guys are getting pitched, have to get used to the speed? Of course. But to me, like, we used to do this. If you go back and watch a game from 30 years ago, guys would be right in line with these pitch clock numbers. A 2 hour and 50-minute game is the perfect amount of time in my estimation.
I'm willing to agree that pace of play and length of games are an issue.
Okay.
I don't know. Again, I'm skeptical of how much a pitch clock will really affect it at the major league level where there are other factors. And also, I think you just get into kind of a slippery slope with, let's say there's a runner on base.
Yeah.
Now everybody's aware of a pitch clock, so it changes the strategy because then if you're the batter and the base runner, you know that when the timer runs out, he's either throwing to home plate or he's going to throw over to first base.
Yeah.
Whereas without that, a pitcher, part of the cat and mouse game with base running is a pitcher can kind of hold the ball for 10 seconds, 8 seconds next time. And you still have a little bit of that wiggle room, but it's not as infinite or as unpredictable.
Yeah.
And so then the game becomes more predictable, and that's where I feel like it starts to then severely affect kind of the strategy.
Yeah. But my response would be just get on the mound faster. Like if you've got 14 seconds and you've got the ball in your glove at 3, right? I don't know exactly when the pitch clock starts, is if it's like when it hits the mitt or whatever, but like just get on the mound faster because then you've still got 10 seconds to play with, which is more than enough time, right? Even if it's 5 or 6 seconds, right? And there's some pickoff stuff that they haven't talked about implementing yet, which I think gets more complicated because I'm with you. Like if you're going to get to 17, 18, well, the base runner's like, all right, well, he has to throw. So time to run. Like I don't have to wait, obviously pick off attempts, etc. So, but at least it sounds like we agree that the length of games, which has gone up and up and up and up, is too long. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess what I would I would then kind of shift the conversation to, is that necessarily the biggest issue MLB is facing? Because again, we've touched on this throughout I would argue that it's, maybe stop messing with the baseball secretly.
Yeah.
Like one, decide on the baseball construction and go with that and let everybody know, be transparent. Hey, this is how the baseballs are made now. This is what we expect from them, how they're going to behave when in the air or on the ground, whatever the case may be. So do that. I think addressing kind of the sticky stuff this past season was a good move.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think they should have gone completely cold turkey that quickly.
Yeah.
But getting that back under control, I think was good. And hopefully I think there was, an uptick in offense because pitchers could no longer manipulate the baseball as much as they had been. But I would still argue, how about you look at the marketing of the game?
Yeah.
How is MLB promoting itself to younger players? Why don't you look at teams who maybe aren't spending the way they probably should be to get into the postseason? Like the Angels have spent money, not smartly, but look at like Mike Trout. Like why is he, he's quote unquote the face of baseball.
Yeah.
But if you look at his kind of presence across social media, which is the age we're living in now, it doesn't compare to other sports. And I get it's not apples to apples because you're not going to force Mike Trout to be.
He doesn't really want to be that guy.
Right. But at least the Angels, like if they were better managed and in the postseason, then maybe Mike Trout's popularity increases. So I think like that's other stuff that needs to be addressed. Blackouts.
Totally.
So I'm skeptical that saying, a pitch clock is going to lower game time by 20 minutes and popularity then is going to shoot through the roof.
Yeah. No, and I'll clarify a couple things. One is I'm basing this off of the evidence that they have at the minor league level that it worked. Yep. So, if that ends up being wrong, if they implement the pitch clock and nothing changes, then yes, we've got some issues there. And I'm also full agreement that there's other issues, but like from my perspective, like these are the ones on the table and we should be able to do the baseball and this. But the last piece you mentioned, which I think is the significant one, I love baseball. You love baseball. If you're watching our show in the middle of a lockout, chances are you love baseball. The success of baseball long-term is dependent upon both maintaining the essence of baseball that makes us love it, but also like we all should be able to look in the mirror and say there are problems with the way that the game is being played right now to where people aren't engaging with it at the levels they should be. Like, the reason we're arguing over $1 million here and $1 million there is because baseball is not growing at the rate that football is. That it's not growing at the rate that even basketball is. And look, football, I think, is an unbelievable product. As far as a sporting product go, I think it's the best one out there. But basketball, like, I think baseball is as good, if not better, as a product than basketball. That might be a hot take. I don't know. But, like, I enjoy baseball way more. But I also have complete understanding if a non-baseball friend says, yeah, I'm not really interested in watching a 3-hour and 15-minute baseball game 162 times a year. I get it. And so I think, to me, if we really want to care about the long-term future of the sport, there are things we have to do. And as much as we can maintain the essence of baseball and not mess with it, we should do it. To me, a pitch clock is like the perfect happy medium, where guess what? A guy is still throwing a baseball and a guy is still trying to hit it. We're just asking them to do it about 15 seconds quicker every single time, and that's going to shorten the game. To me, those are the types of things that are no-brainers.
Yeah, so here, I'll throw two things at you.
Good.
Let's say game times do come down. We'll be generous by 30 minutes on average per game.
2 hours and 45 minutes. We come down to that.
Do you think that time, still over 162 game season, will draw in the casual fan? So that's the first question. The second one is Game 7 of the World Series, ninth inning.
Yeah.
The pitcher needs to get the final out, obviously, and the pitch clock is going to impact that. Mentally, like, no matter what, like, you could say, 20 seconds is enough time, 25 seconds is enough time. It doesn't matter. Like, if you know, I need to decide on a pitch and get this thrown within X amount of time, that now adds another pressure. So is that something you would want a Dodgers pitcher having to deal with 1 out away from winning or losing a World Series?
Yeah, I don't think a pitch clock is going to dramatically increase the size of the audience overnight. But I agree with what you said. I think baseball has a marketing problem. I think the problem right now is they have both a marketing and a retention problem. They need to get new eyeballs on the sport. They do a very bad job of that. But the problem is the eyeballs they do get on the sport watch it and they're like, yeah, I'm good. It's too long. So to me, those are the types of things where it's like, I understand wanting to make the game more exciting, wanting to make it less strikeouts and home runs kind of stuff, like allow the ball to be put in play. That is adding excitement. That's making the game more enjoyable. They should be trying to make the game shorter. Like, whether or not we need to have 162 games is a conversation for another perspective. You can probably guess what my opinion is on that. So none of that is the marketing piece, which they need to figure out a better way to do. I think baseball doesn't care. They're just terrible. I don't know how to say. They're both smart businessmen in that they are very rich and making tons of money, and they're terrible businessmen because they don't care about their product. So that would be my response. As far as the Game 7 piece, I think they'll figure it out. I think they will get used to it. I think that, all things, it will be very difficult at the beginning, and then guess what? And also, look at what the NFL did with, their COVID protocols as the postseason came around. Things got a little bit more relaxed. I don't think we're going to be adding an automatic ball with 2 outs in the 9th inning in Game 7 of the World Series. I think there's probably going to be a little bit more leniency there, but I also think that by then, I mean, if you've been doing this for 162 games plus another 15 or 20 to get to the World Series, I think things will normalize, and it's one of these things where we're not even going to notice it. We're not even going to remember it's there. Guys are just going to, over the course of a year, maybe 2 years, they're going to get used to getting the ball. They're going to get used to standing on the mound, not walking around, guys not getting in and out of the back. Because remember, we've done this to batters too. You can't get in and out of the batter's box. So this is just the reciprocal thing on the pitching side. So that's where I land. Now, this is the most fascinating. I would love to hear what people think in the comments. I've been told I don't love baseball because I want games shorter, right? Oh, I don't know a single true baseball fan that wants games under 3 hours. It's I don't know, one right here. Or maybe I'm not a true baseball fan. I don't know. So that's Matt Moreno. My name's Jeff Spiegel. Please let us know what you think in the comments below. Check us out on social media, DodgerBlue1958, DodgerBlue.com as well. We appreciate you joining us. Engage below. We'll see you next time.